The mic's in kind of a random position, but you know what? Whatever. Guys, you know, the funny thing about technical difficulties is that sometimes you're looking for these complicated solutions, because we've had so many problems on this show in the past with, like, capture cards being at the wrong settings and, like, you know, like here, just like the funny, stupid stuff like this, where outputting over HDMI from a laptop, by the way, you know, big thanks to ASUS, G750JZ, sponsor of the laptop of the show, all that good stuff. So you output over a laptop over HDMI, which in theory is a 1080p 60 hertz signal. But on our capture card, you don't set a progressive input. You set 59.97 interlaced. And it's just like stuff that, unless you're some kind of savant, you can't possibly be expected to know. And so we've done enough trial and error with this stuff that when something doesn't work and I go, oh no, my laptop capture's not working. Okay, let's try all the hertz and try all the, like, I'm gonna grab like
different
my
cables and
my,
adapters
yeah,
and laptops.
Grab like, you know, half a dozen different laptops and like the weird like adapters that you made by putting together multiple adapters. And then it turns out someone stepped on the blanking cable and pulled it out of the capture card over on the other end, which I can't see. So that is why we're late. I am terribly sorry, guys. You deserve the very best from us. And we were late today. We're trying to be better about all that stuff, but we are human. Or are we?
Nope. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. And it was revealed later on in the show that actually they were livestock.
I was going to do a sheep. Now I don't know what to do.
You could go with cow.
I don't want to go with cow.
Just because you've been losing weight lately doesn't mean that you don't have to make the cow noise. Make the cow noise!
No!
Make it!
No!
Speaking of paying people to do things and basically owning their souls, you guys, we did the most unusual sponsor integration ever for Fractal Design on Fast as Possible. That video will be up tonight as long as Taryn finishes editing it before he has to go to a wedding over there. And let me tell you guys, it is something a little bit different. And yes, indeed, thank you, Twitch chat. Sheep is only a word, nothing more than that. In fact, if we break it down even further, sheep is nothing but 5 letters.
Series of characters.
All right, and the WAN show is just a series of topics that are technology and gaming and all that great stuff. So we've got a few interesting things this week. Number 1 is hoverbikes are evidently an actual thing. There is a hoverbike. It is going into production. You can pre-order one. Blah. Also, the Infinideck could be a more elegant omnidirectional treadmill solution compared to the Virtuix Omni, which we have checked out, but there are going to be some challenges, so we'll talk to you guys more about that after. I'll let you talk.
It's all good, either way. LG is going to be, well, they already did, update their privacy policy so that essentially you have to share everything or get nothing. We'll talk more about that later.
Yeah.
And Bungie has done the hero move and saved Halo Combat Evolved and Custom Edition, and we'll talk about that later as well.
They are so cool.
Yeah, I pretty much love them.
I want their boots just so that I can lick them.
So you don't necessarily have to be in the boots?
No.
No, okay.
There we go. The show today, Okay, put the
Yeah,
things in the
yeah,
right
yeah.
places, is brought to you by Squarespace, the fast, easy way to create your own beautiful website. It's elegant, it's smooth, and they even have a song. And I don't know why that says offer code, sign up at bit.ly/hsshare, because that isn't right. But 20% off elite prices with offer code Linus, and you just go to squarespace.com. You don't have to actually worry about a special URL. Our next sponsor is actually a new one, and this one is one you guys are probably going to get pretty amped up about. Geekstakes 2014 is on, and the sponsor is Modus, a leading IT staffing provider in the US, Canada, UK, and actually they've got about 70 global offices. Geekstakes 2014, though, guys, all you got to do is check out their Facebook page and like it, and you will be entered for a chance to win actually like 10 crazy prizes, including an MSI GS60 Stealth Gaming Notebook. Dun dun dun. More on that later. And finally, yes, the G750JZ ROG Notebook. And it's brought to you by JJ today. And also, my water bottle today is brought to you by JJ. And all of our topics today are brought to you by JJ and Asus. We're going to be talking Z97 with the one and only JJ from Asus. And huge thanks to Asus for providing us with these G750JZs that we use for the WAN show here. I was almost in a bit of an awkward position where I was like, maybe it's the laptop's fault that I can't output and screen share, and I was like, oh, that's going to be like really, really awkward if I have to say that, but it wasn't. So now,
Yay, no awkwardness.
I get to talk about the rock-solid, heart-touching reliability of the HDMI output on this notebook, and I don't have to stress out
Did it touch your
about
heart?
that other stuff. I'm sorry?
Did it touch your heart?
Oh, it definitely touched
Were you
me.
emotionally happy?
I don't know about the heart.
It does kind of touch you, actually.
It does touch
Quite
me.
intimately.
And it touches my junk.
Yep.
It touches my junk. And I'm okay with that, because it actually doesn't run that hot.
Yeah, that's true.
For a
I'll give it
gaming
that.
notebook, I'm surprisingly okay
It's
with...
just like a nice, comfortable warmth.
Yeah.
So
Having warm junk is not a bad thing.
So we both comfortably spoon
Our notebooks.
our notebooks during
Yeah.
the WAN show.
Well, no, for us to call it spooning, we'd have to like kind of turn them around
That's
and
really,
just
really
kind of
bad for usability.
sit like this with them. Yeah, but you know what? If I had a criticism of Asus's latest gaming
the
notebook,
reach around is not
It-
very easy.
reach around doesn't work.
Reach around is very difficult to manage.
Oh,
You need to make
alright.
it so that the keyboard can pop out and then swivel around,
Yeah,
so you
well,
can type backwards.
the funny thing about Asus is they have so many different notebooks that they like probably have one like that. Like the Tai Chi. It's got screens on both sides.
Yes, perfect. Okay, there we go.
Oh, I love it. What the hell are
Awesome.
we even talking about?
I don't know, spooning laptops.
Spooning laptops. No, we have an actual show. Can you just stay focused for 5 minutes?
I guess. I mean, like. Maybe.
Jeez, man. Twitch chat is not working for me, so unfortunately I can't chat with you guys. Maybe it's because I got signed out for some reason. I'm just gonna go ahead and sign that baby back in, and then let's kick off our first topic here, you
Our
guys.
first topic, I believe, is hoverbikes.
Hoverbikes, let's do that. Okay, so you guys check this out. This is unreal. We're gonna screen share because we can do that.
Apparently,
We're
there's
gonna...
an advertisement.
Oh, no way.
Long summer
One.
weekends are just around the corner.
Oh, they
Get
have
road trip
audio.
ready with a
Oh,
spring
no, it's
checkup by
Twitch,
your
isn't it?
certified
Yeah.
service experts.
No. Yeah, it is. It's Twitch.
Yeah.
It's that hardcore muted but still doing things. We could learn about these. Oh, the ad goes away on its own. That's innovative.
Beautiful.
So there it is, you
No
guys.
skip button here.
The world's first functional hover bike, the Aero X. And this is such a great this is such a great tagline. The Aero X lets you pretend to hoverbike through the forests of Endor, which it legit actually does. So this picture is not faked in any way. This isn't like the hover skateboard hoax.
No, that was so depressing.
With, Christopher Lloyd and Tony Hawk and like all these people involved. And I was just like, what are you guys actually doing?
And it was like right before, but not on April Fool's.
Yeah, like it wasn't
come
April
on.
Fool's. I was just like, yeah, this is just kind of mean to people because a lot of people really went for it. So I was sad for them. So basically, the video here is actually from a prototype back in 2012. And I don't know if we've got audio here. I don't know if there's actually audio on this video here. I'm just going to check really quick here. Yeah, okay, there's no audio on the video, but some of the interesting stuff actually happens a little bit later. So some of the challenges that they went through were figuring out how to counter the like when you're first spinning up the rotors, there's a lot of force that can cause it to
Right.
that can cause the bike to torque one way or the other. They had to figure out how to counter that. They had to take some cues from quadricopters like the Parrot AR drone with respect to how to track if you're just drifting in the wind. The idea, though, and this is the craziest thing about it, the idea here is that if you ride a motorcycle, you should be able to straight up get on one of these and ride it. Which,
That's
as
pretty
someone
cool.
who can ride a motorcycle, is like pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So they're going pretty slow in this video, but this is quite an old video.
Oh yeah, I saw this like years ago.
Oh man, look at this. But what's cool about it is they're giving us some specs about the finished one. So they're saying it can go up to 67 kilometers an hour and up to 3.7 meters high, which doesn't sound like a ton. 72 kilometers an hour, sorry. And up to 3.7 meters high, which doesn't sound that high, but think about this for a second, especially the American viewers. 3.7 meters is more than a story. Like, that's more than the height of, like, almost pretty much the highest ceiling you'd ever find in a house. So you could literally be driving around looking into second story windows if something like this was ever street legal.
Which you probably shouldn't
Oh,
do.
yeah, and you probably shouldn't do that. And the reason
Maybe
for
look forward.
the 3.7 meter height restriction is actually so that you don't get classified as an aircraft. In theory, I guess there's no real reason why it couldn't go higher. But like,
Someone's gonna make
I know,
like that override
and they're going
chip.
to die.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be brutal.
Like, someone will die, and then they're gonna set back personal flying vehicles like 10, 20 years.
yeah,
And
it's gonna be terrible.
you are wrecking it for us
They
all.
have safety stuff too, which I thought was interesting. Those like anti-flip guide rails that you saw around the side in
Mm-hmm.
the video, and they're thinking about doing stuff like replacing those or adding on airbags, which I think is really smart.
That's actually either really smart or like just a totally bad idea. Like, how do you put an airbag on a motorcycle?
And I think it's designed more like that motorcycle helmet that's an airbag, or sorry, not motorcycle helmet, but like pedal biking helmet.
Yeah, okay.
Because it'll note it, it'll register a fall, and then.
So yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
think
it
it's
could,
going to be around the sides.
So it could be more like a suit almost, even.
Or a
It's
suit.
like,
That's not a
I'm in
terrible
free
idea.
fall, and it goes like Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters on me.
It just like lets itself pop. So you have the soft impact, and then maybe you fall like
You-
a foot, but
you-
it's no big deal.
I don't think you'd want it to let itself pop. Because the thing about crumple zones on cars is that they're designed to be weak, but strong enough. Because, like, let's say, okay, so let's think about...
But it's not gonna. It's a. Unless they make it foam. If it's an
Mm.
airbag, it's not gonna crumple zone.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, if it popped, that's, like, kind of like crumple zone logic.
Yeah, that's why I was
Yeah,
thinking.
so that's, like, probably terrible. Because, like, depending how you're falling, right?
Yeah.
Because if the way that you crash is kind of like, you know, the one stormtrooper or bike trooper or whatever they were called, you know why they had those? Because there was an issue manufacturing, like, stormtrooper armor. And so they're like, oh, yeah, we'll, like, redesign them. We'll call them, like, these troopers. This is all hearsay. It's not validated, but that's a rumor I heard. So anyway, like the one guy who gets thrown off the bike and goes into the tree. And like what I think was one of the most memorable Star Wars bad guy deaths, actually. The guy who like hits the tree upside down and then
Yeah,
falls
yeah.
down. So if that was how you like fell off of it, like something disastrous happened, you went flying off of it at 72 kilometers an hour, you would want it to be solid enough.
Yeah, my
To
only.
bounce more than like
That's what I
collapse.
was worried about, though. Is exactly what you just said. Is bouncing. Because I don't want to bounce. I feel like that would be a terrible thing. And you're just smacking something at 72 kilometers an hour and then going boing.
One way that you could absorb the impact without letting the air out of the device is you could allow the air to shift around inside the bubble.
So not like fully inflated.
Yeah, so like
Like
so
a little bit of
yeah,
relaxation.
or if you had narrower gaps internally so that the air can't move extremely quickly from one zone
Or
to
just
another.
like squeeze into another zone,
But it
but
could
not
like
flow.
yeah, then you could keep it from just boing, bouncing off of trees or
Neither of
whatever
us
else.
are engineers.
Yeah,
but
neither
this
of
seems
us
like a
are
not terrible idea.
safety, rangers.
I thought
but-
that was super cool when they came up with the biking helmet that inflates. It was just way too expensive, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was really
crazy
expensive. And I don't even know that it was available in North America. So that's.
I don't really think so. It was just like a university project.
Someone
that just
says that's
turned
not
out
how
really
airbags
cool.
work, Linus. I know that's not how airbags work. We're
We're
not talking about
something
airbags.
new. And again, we're not safety engineers. So like, don't listen to any of that because none of that will happen.
We would be safety fungineers.
I think what they were talking about anyways was airbags on the side of the thing.
I like
Instead
this
of
idea
on you.
from Felix R90, a giant laser beam that destroys everything in front of you.
Perfect.
So you don't hit it.
And you never have to worry about
Well,
it.
because you know what? That's why motorcyclists on the track can crash at, a couple hundred kilometers an hour and actually be much less likely to be injured or killed than someone who crashes on the street going 70, 80 kilometers an hour because there's no obstacles.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say because they're giant laser beams, and I was like, what?
No, it's like, yeah, the Ducati laser beam mobile. No, because what happens is if you watch what happens when a motorcyclist crashes, like it's still bad, and you can still get like messed up real good. But
They skid on their gear.
they slide on the gear. Whereas when you hit a lamppost,
It's horrible.
your slide stops.
Oh, yeah, I saw this GIF. Terrible segue, but I saw this GIF of guys skateboarding, and the one guy flies off, and his skateboard goes across and takes out a few people. One of the guys jumps off his skateboard before he gets hit by the other skateboard, and they're going really fast. So he has to like keep himself running, but he's going too quick, and he dives, and he skims right beside this pole, and he slides like really fast right beside it. And if you would have nailed right into it, that would have been really bad.
Did you see the?
It's like,
Did you?
oh god.
Did you see the one of the skateboarder who lands on his ass at the bottom of a bike rail and then like lands right on the skateboard?
Yeah, and then just like rolls on by, and the guy gives him a high five. Oh, that was awesome. We should just turn this whole show into meme.
I know. We should
Just like
we should
cover all the memes.
Ray William Johnson's not doing equals 3 anymore. I think that there is a definite gap. Okay, sorry guys, it's not April Fool's, so I shouldn't be making jokes like that. We are not turning this into
No.
equals 3.
No.
Like equals WAN.
You...
We're rebranding the show again. And you guys will all hate it again. Okay, let's do one more topic before we bring JJ on, just because
Okay.
otherwise I feel like we're not going to get any topics done today.
Infinideck?
Yeah, the Infinideck. This, you guys, this is actually. You know what? I'll let you introduce this topic. I'm gonna fire up the video here though, so that they can check this out while you talk.
So Omni was called a 360-degree treadmill, essentially, but it wasn't really... It depends on, I guess, how you want to look at that, but I don't really see it as a treadmill because you just kind of slid
Yeah,
with
like
shoes that were designed for sliding.
it's more like a tread cereal bowl
Yeah.
that you stand in.
Yeah, this is actually a treadmill that can actually go in 360 degrees, which is very interesting. You can see they're walking on crazy angles, but that's because the treads are moving in 2 different directions, which allow that to be able to happen. So, very interesting. It still has tons of the same problems that Omni has, and probably even more so in the idea of it not being very easy to store, being gigantic in general,
Being expensive,
There's
difficult to manufacture.
difficult to manufacture, all that kind of stuff. Probably even more so for most of those. It
Yeah.
has tons of other issues too in terms of latency, getting feedback from the game,
Yeah.
and it not reacting in time, you moving in a weird way and it not reacting in time, all this kind of stuff. That being said, it's really early on, so hopefully that kind of stuff can come later. It's gonna be expensive. I can't see this possibly because you got to think it's more advanced than a normal treadmill.
Yeah.
And treadmills are already not that cheap.
But then again, exercise equipment seems to be the biggest gigantic scam in the entire world in terms of how much that stuff costs versus how much it costs to manufacture. I mean, it's a weight. It's literally a hunk of metal.
The dumbbells that I have at my house are like just it's one solid piece, like it's not one of those really nice ones, and even the paint on it is like it obviously dripped on the one side, and they all look like that. They're like not even that cheap, and they're just completely crap, but it's just the cheapest ones that they had. So I was like, whatever. I don't need a fancy one. It weighs a certain amount, and I pick it up and put it down. Like, I'm not too worried about it.
Like biggest scan
Oh.
ever. You know, that would be a great business idea. So
Linus Media Group weights.
no, not I don't want to do it. But if someone went, okay, we're gonna make like environmentally conscious exercise equipment. So basically, all it is like recycled metal and crap, and they just mold it into the shape of things that people can lift and put down, and they'll just be like, look, this stuff legit didn't cost us any more than scrap metal costs, so you cover the shipping, you cover our cost to turn it into this shape, and we're good. And also some profit, but not as much.
But not that much.
Yeah, not that much.
That's not a bad idea. I'm sure that would work pretty well, actually.
It's not the world's most horrible idea.
By Linus Media Group.
We never said the Hoverbike. Right, you have to put down 5,000, and the price is going to be 85,000. So you put down 5,000 just to reserve one, and they're not expecting them to actually be available until 2017. So this is like some pretty hardcore pre-ordering going on, but expecting clients like U.S. Border Patrol or park rangers, or they're an off-road vehicle, to be the target for this. Maybe they're willing. Maybe some of them are willing to at least invest in one to find out if it's a good idea and then go from there.
Apparently someone has named them slick lifts.
Slick lifts. I think slick lifts are more like the kind of thing I would want to wear in my shoes.
Oh. That's not a bad name.
Slick lifts. And they could be like stylish. They could be like fancy colors, because if we've learned anything from Kickstarter, it's that people will kickstart the hell out of anything that's a completely normal thing, but like different colors. Did you see that Kickstarter for brightly colored USB like micro cables?
No.
I was just like, really? And someone was like, oh, Linus, you should cover this. You should request a sample. And I'm just like, what could I possibly say?
He also
about
hates micro USB cables.
with
so,
with all the fiery passion that I can conjure in my soul. I hate micro USB, so a slightly more aesthetically pleasing micro USB cable is unlikely to light a fire for me.
Something I also want to bring up about Infinideck, if we're going to be bouncing around in topics, is the possible resurgence and comeback of the arcade. I brought this up when we first started talking about it. Because if you have like a home Infinideck, it's going to be this little tiny thing. If you go to a giant arcade, it could be Infinideck style infinite room.
Yeah.
And it could be like a whole room.
And that kind of a
dedicated to
thing might cost $100,000.
So you're not going to be able to afford it in your house.
Yeah. And you might not have space for it like at all, but every arcade in the Lower Mainland here in the Vancouver area is gone now because you can get so close to that experience at home. Whereas this could be a complete revival for that business model where it's like, come in and pay $30 an hour to use whatever you want. And with virtual reality and the kinds of I can imagine someone like Oculus having a professional grade option versus a consumer grade option. So having like really advanced virtual reality with much better sensors, low latency cameras for motion tracking and all that.
Built all around into the room.
Built into a room. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I would go and I would pay $30 an hour to go and chill for a couple hours.
I'd try out. Yeah, if they had VR and AR experiences too, you could have both styles.
That's my problem with the Infinideck though, is I really don't think that stationary... Okay, outside of markets where, like, places like Europe and Japan, where they're legitimately not going to have enough space for an augmented reality gaming experience, I think that augmented reality is going to be the one that draws me much more than VR. Like, I would rather deal with the inconvenience of a backpack with like a heavy battery in it or something, and a front-facing camera that augments what I see.
And so then you're going to get like essentially paintball fields.
Yes.
Because one problem with that is if you just kind of cruise, if you do it in your house, it's a very limited setup.
Yes.
Every map's going to be the same. It's going to get really boring. If you do it outside, people are going to look at you like you're absolutely insane, and they're probably going to try and talk to you, and that's going to break the whole immersion experience. So it's going to have to be like a VR field.
I think
which
there's
could be
room...
really cool.
And you know what? It comes back to our RC tanks and planes idea, where like Oh
People
man,
might not even get that reference now.
actually piloting, like a plane and being able to fire like virtual lasers and crap at other people's planes and like take them down. The future is exciting. All right, so why don't we bring JJ on? Do you want to get him
Sure.
to join us here?
Do-do.
I'm gonna just tweet this out. Tune in live at
You wired up? Yeah, you are.
twitch.tv/LinusTech. We actually have a watch page on LinusTechTips.com. I just don't know the URL, which is sort of a terrible, terrible thing.
Nobody does anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so
now.
bring on our. Oh, is that?
Is it
Are you
working?
there? Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Fantastic. All right, so guys, give JJ a warm welcome and all that good stuff in the Twitch chat. For those of you who don't know who this gentleman is, he is the tech guru of ASUS who knows all the things about all the ASUS. I swear, you could ask him any question about an ASUS product, past, present, and probably even future, and he would know the answer. But
Wow.
that third category, he probably couldn't tell you about it. So.
You are extremely nice. I thank you. I try my best. Man. But yeah, that is a very humbling introduction. So thank you.
All right, so I think the thing to do here is to invite people on the Twitter boards to go ahead, and we're going to do things a little bit differently this week. Rather than just tweeting at Linus Tech, any questions you have about ASUS products, particularly Z97 and H97 motherboards, we want you to use hashtag, and I don't remember what it is anymore, and I can see that that's going to be a problem for me. Okay, so I'm going to invent one right off the bat. So it's going to be hashtag
WAN Live.
WAN Live?
I thought it was WAN Show Live.
Sure, hashtag WAN Show Live. Go ahead and include that hashtag with your tweet, and we're going to be going through them and finding some good questions for JJ. But in the meantime, I'm going to kick things off. I'm going to go, okay, look. Z97. It's no gigantic secret that not a whole lot changed on the Intel side of things. So why don't you give us like a top 3 reasons why maybe users shouldn't necessarily upgrade from Z87 outright, but for people upgrading to LGA 1150, why would they spend an extra couple bucks for Z97 versus Z87?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think it's kind of a tricky question to answer because I think both me and you have I'd say like a different, I guess, approach than most people, because since we see hardware every single generation, right, we kind of might think of it from the bleeding edge where we're going to upgrade from one platform to the next. But a lot of users, like you said, are necessarily sometimes coming over from a platform from 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I mean, we got people that are still coming over from P45 or X58 or different chipsets. But
Right.
I think for this generation, our goal, we always try to look at kind of 2 different perspectives of development, chipset development and then board level development. So every generation, I think we try to put in the effort to put in new functions and features that are going to make things interesting and improve for the user's experience. So I think 3 things. I'm a big fan, once again, of everything that we did on the auto tuning side for the motherboards. I think that the new customization abilities that we have for this generation are pretty nuts as far as the granularity and control that you have for dynamic real-time auto overclocking. I'm really digging a lot of the new stuff that we did on the audio implementation to extend, the previous designs that we had. And then I think kind of just total experience. I think most of us, when we go about building a system, we kind of think of building the system in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's the simplicity of just how smoothly something might work, or how kind of something you didn't realize in terms of just enabling, like this generation. For us, it's easy to enable XMP, but we still see, based off of market survey data, that 50% of users never enable XMP on a motherboard.
Right.
So just having a physical switch on the motherboard that now a user can just flip into the on position. While to me it's something that I would never use in terms of having value for, we definitely know that there's users out there that would go, wow, that just makes sense, and I can just do that, and that gives me exactly what I'm using for, because that's what I paid for in terms of the memory that I bought. So
I have a question for you about the physical XMP switch. Is that something that the system integrators were asking for as well?
No, actually no. We didn't get any of that feedback from the system integrators. That was really based purely on the perspective of trying to find a more simplified solution. If you remember last generation, we put in that easy one-touch UEFI option for the XMP function, right? And so
Yes.
this was just kind of the evolution of that, of trying to give you, a very easy way to do it, not only within the UEFI, but a really easy way of doing it on the physical hardware level. But it
So
was
the next implementation will be like a giant red button this big with like a flashing LED behind it. Push this.
Yeah, do this.
Push this if you have memory.
I think the next option is, we're working on a micro automaton, a little, guy that will come inside the box and he'll ask you questions.
Do you need help?
And he'll just do it for you. Exactly. He'll just kind of, come on like your own personal golem, and then he'll go into your system and he'll just enable everything for you. You won't do anything. You just tell him, I want to do this and this and this, and he'll automatically do it for you.
Can you create different skins for it? So
Yeah,
there can be like the Cortana digital girl, and then there can be like the remember Mad Mod Mike, that Nvidia brand asset that was like the guy with like a huge backpack and like screwdrivers and stuff. And then I think like a bonus one for someone who buys all the Asus components possible. So only people who have an Asus like motherboard, graphics card, like a keyboard, mouse, sound card, and then it unlocks like a JJ avatar.
Yeah.
That would be pretty awesome. Actually, it's funny you talk about that. We're going to be hopefully doing in a little bit. Sometime this quarter, we're going to be releasing these like really cool limited edition, really highly articulated small ROG robots. So for like our diehard enthusiasts that really love, ROG hardware and Asus hardware, they're going to have the opportunity to be able to pick up these really limited edition, high detail based figures. So, I think that's all just part of the experience, right? All of us as builders, we love dealing with hardware, and anything that just makes things interesting and more engaging and adds to the experience is always cool.
All right, so why don't I start with a first question from someone on the forum that actually reached out to me very politely and said, look, I'm sorry, I can't tune into the show live, but I really want to know the answer to this. Why did you guys go for an expansion card versus building Thunderbolt into the motherboards that you thought it made sense for? I mean, one of the things that you and I have talked about extensively is the way that Asus tries to build a motherboard according to how they think that user is going to use it, down to everything from whether to use just, integrated Intel SATA connectors to implementing a particular brand even of extra SATA connectors. So why didn't you guys go for something like the WS? It was the one real criticism I had of that board. Why didn't you go, okay, look, this is a workstation board. It should have Thunderbolt on it right off the bat.
Yeah, no, you make a really good point, and that was a really hard decision to make. For us, Thunderbolt is still continuing to be kind of an emerging technology that we're seeing get utilized, and we're heavily involved. I actually went to 2 Thunderbolt Plug Fests this generation, and we worked with, I think, over 160 vendors that are making all kinds of Thunderbolt accessories. So we definitely still value in it. I mean, compared to any other vendor, no other vendor has more Thunderbolt solutions than us. And I think it just came down to a question of resource, layout consideration, and cost. While there's definitely going to be a segmentation, even within that content creation community, like you talked about for a WS model, that would see value in Thunderbolt, the majority of those users as a whole are not going to be utilizing Thunderbolt. They will be utilizing your classic interconnects, whether they're going to be USB or whether it's going to be actually even gigabit-based connectivity on a local-based network. So in that situation, I think we saw the value of, let's still give them that ability to be able to have Thunderbolt, right, on the boards, but not necessarily have to have them to pay the premium, because when you do look at the cost, the BOM cost, so the bill of material cost on Thunderbolt, it is probably within the top 3 most expensive hardware specs to put on a motherboard. So it's not like a small add-on cost. Sometimes there are some stuff that it's a really marginal cost to implement on the board. So it's a pretty big increase in terms of impacting the MSRP, so the final retail price of the motherboard. Plus there is physical space layout considerations. So this generation WS, actually we did incorporate the same type of isolated audio design that we had started to implement on the ROG series. So that kind of implementation, balancing all that thing out in terms of space and real estate and everything else out, it was just kind of a managed kind of implementation where we said, okay, it probably makes sense, but we still have to balance everything out. And even little things like you wouldn't keep in mind, like the Thunderbolt board still has 1394. So it's our only active Z97 SKU that actually has 1394.
I did notice that.
because we still actually have users in that content creation community. They've made really big investment for Firewire, and actually the usage model is still actually a little bit higher than Thunderbolt. We probably see that by the end of this year, finally eclipsing that Thunderbolt will even be higher than the existing base of 1394. But that 1394 chip takes up space, right? So if we probably maybe would have taken that out, could have probably maybe offset it. So it just
Right.
literally comes down to a balance factor. You know, we'd love to put everything that we could on there, but that's kind of the best compromise. But the cool thing about it is, you know, Thunderbolt across what, like 16 SKUs, and all you got to do is just drop in the card, right?
All right, I can see why you made the compromise. Now, here's something that I wish everyone would quit compromising on, and you can go, you can like, let's call this like off the record, your opinion. Um,
I will do my best.
Looking into the crystal ball, when are we gonna finally see 10 gigabit Ethernet? I've seen some of the guys in Twitch chat
Yeah.
talking about 10 gig because right now no one seems to be willing to just do this and make it a consumer technology. I think Netgear has like one 8-port switch on Newegg that's still hundreds of dollars, and you can buy NIC cards for in the $200 to $300 range. The cabling itself has caught up at this point, so
Yeah.
you can get Cat 6A cable for a reasonable price. How much, legitimately, like if you had to just guess, and you can tell me the number is probably wrong, you can disclaim it. This number is wrong, but if how much would a 10 gigabit implementation on a motherboard cost? And what's the problem right now? Why can't we do it?
It really comes down to just it's a cost factor. It's totally possible. We could entirely do it. And you know, while there is stuff that I can't talk about as far as on the current chipset portfolio, you can imagine that there's things coming down the pipeline later on where that could be a possibility of something that you would want be incorporated. So we are evaluating looking at 10 gig E solutions on base platforms, but more probably in the server and workstation demographic than we would see in the traditional kind of like Z97. So
Workstation boards.
the performance kind of market space. But from a cost standpoint, you're talking that you could easily take a motherboard that might, let's say, traditionally be, let's say, like a $250 motherboard, $300 motherboard. So that's a relatively high-end enthusiast C97 base board,
Yeah.
and you could add an MSRP of beyond $200 to be able to add 10 gig E. So that's a huge cost increase to the consumer. You know, I'm sure like foreign people would go, "This is crazy." $200 more, right? Of
Right.
course, for the users that know the benefit of what they would be able to do in leveraging a 10 gig E solution, they would appreciate that, and they would also look at the cost of going, hey, maybe an add-in card is at least maybe $350. So
Yeah.
having to pay $200 and having it integrated, I'm ready to do that. But we're looking at it actually, I think, in a more complete rollout strategy. You know, we're evaluating actually 10 gig E not just for our motherboards, but also for our entire networking division. So definitely stay tuned. You know, you're going to see more of that coming down the
That sounds
pipeline
good.
from us. But you know, it really just comes down to cost. If users say, hey, we're willing to take on the cost, then we can do it. This same stuff even rolls into like a mini ITX for like really high end. We've done some really crazy, interesting designs for X79 and trying to do a ultra small form factor X79 mini ITX. And I'm not going to say it's impossible because we've made some really interesting design choices to be able to do something like that. And then I have people tell me, oh, we'll do it. But then there's always that difference between what's the real market reality
Yeah.
and what's the niche reality of people saying, oh, we'll buy this, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, for us to kick off a board, you know, you're at least talking 6 to 8 months development time, a high amount of R&D cost, bandwidth, and resource and stuff like that. And so I could probably make it. I could make an X79 Mini ITX. It could be really interesting as far as the way it worked. But would you really be willing to pay, you know, $450, $500 for that board?
And that would be a tough pill to swallow. I mean, I could see an X79 ITX board being worth a small premium, you know, maybe $250, $275 for, you know, like let's call it like a deluxe class board, you know, something pretty equivalent to, you know, a Z97 or a Z87 ITX board. But if you started to tell me it's $400, $500, that's a really tough pill to swallow, especially when you factor in that you're going to need some other pretty specialized hardware to even build that rig. You know, you're going to want, Silverstone is, I think, the only one that I'm aware of with an 80 plus gold power supply. That's a 450 watt unit. That's an SFX power supply. So this is a very special machine at this point. And you think about like how many times, guys, viewers, think about how many times on a forum you've seen a machine that special.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen that power supply?
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is, I mean, we're okay making those type of advancements. I mean, if you look at our history, we're not necessarily afraid to buck the trend and sometimes put on these really specialized technologies that roll out over time to other products over time. Because we have users that realize that, and that's part of the community. One of the really cool things about the PC DIY community is in itself that people will embrace the technology, they'll pay a premium, and while not everybody benefits from it right away, actually that's the really cool thing is that as products scale over time, that initial investment actually does scale out to more products over time. So as long as you can get enough of those people to be supportive of that, then you can see really cool and innovative product like that. It just depends, do we really have enough people for these type of solutions? And the same way every day I get people asking me, I want high performance AM3 mini ITX, right?
Yeah.
So stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, now leading into investing in the future and it paying off for everyone. I think this is a great discussion topic. And don't worry, JJ, I'll let you talk about Z97 at some point.
Oh, no
But
worries, man.
let's talk PG278Q ROG Swift.
You had to do it, right? You just had to ask about it, right?
Yeah, but I got more. Oh, it gets more complicated than that because I'm going to also throw at you the Acer announcement today of their 4K G-Sync monitor. And then I'm going to throw this at you again and I'm going to go, is this all just irrelevant with the VESA 1.2a standard coming out supporting AMD's FreeSync or ActiveSync? Like, is G-Sync even relevant anymore? What do you... Again, real thoughts. What do you think? You don't even have to give a concrete answer here.
Yeah. So you make a lot of really good points. So I think first off, if we just tackle the first point in terms of G-Sync's relevancy, it's entirely relevant. The first and foremost reason is because while you haven't seen physical MP product, it's already a technology that's proven. It's in integrator solutions. Right now, they're working on it and they're finalizing the products to come to the market. So this is a big difference than, let's just say, something a ratified specification or a ratified standard that's coming into its play and then still has to be actually proven in real design and implementation. So
I see.
Regardless of whether something is a physical implementation or a firmware layer specification or something that occurs on a much more minor level that's purely on a software basis, these things have to be proven in the real world. And I can tell you the learning curve just alone for our monitor development team along with NVIDIA at actually taking what they thought was a monitor kind of driving circuit board, and then having to approach that in the real world were two entirely different things. We had to consider things that NVIDIA hadn't factored in, like color calibration profile support, which is normally part of, let's say, the electronics package in a monitor, but we had to work with their team to be able to actually integrate the ability to have color controls because that wasn't something that was inherently part of the FPGA package because NVIDIA was thinking from a different perspective. So
so they went gaming. They went. It's funny because NVIDIA sometimes it gets criticized for being, oh, you guys are completely focused on grid or you're completely focused on mobile. But then they go and they bring something like G-Sync to market and they literally haven't even thought about it beyond, gaming.
Yeah, and I mean that's the reality of every company. I mean, sometimes you run up against experience and just your internal kind of perspective, right? And that's where it's a balance that they've worked with us to leverage our experience in monitor design, and we're leveraging their experience at that IC based design in that package, right? For what they're doing there. So I think that still in that aspect, there's still a lot of logic, and there's a lot of other things that NVIDIA is doing within the FPGA and the overall IP they're developing behind G-Sync that in the long term, not just right now, but what you're going to be able to do over time with it, actually continues to paint the purpose of having a specialized IC. Now, I love the aspect, and ASUS says, we're not biased to any vendor, right? We produce AMD solutions, we produce NVIDIA, we produce Intel chipsets, and we produce AMD chipsets. So from our perspective, we want to be able to give the consumers the most choice possible, right? So, I in that perspective, right, what you're seeing with the new Visa update, you're going to have more flexibility, have a more open ecosystem. So that's great as well. But I think all of us at the end of the day, what we care first and foremost about is how something works. Even if it's a proprietary solution, if it works really, 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 really well and there's no issues with it, I'm okay with it being proprietary if it works outstanding and it doesn't have any bugs and it doesn't have issues and it just works, right? I mean, that's a proven example of, you're going to get a lot of people that they say, hey, we wish you gave more Linux support. Well, it's really hard to have Linux support from a chipset development when you have 20 different distros that all have their different kernels and they all have to be compiled differently, right? When you then tell a chipset company, hey, you can design a driver for Windows and it's just one platform, right? So it's very much kind of that same thing. There's a lot of things to consider in that. So I think G-Sync is still relevant. I still think we're going to totally embrace and look at how we can incorporate the updated VISA spec in monitors over time. And then from there, the 4K proposition, as far as that goes into it, I think everybody's interested to continue to see just improved gaming performance on all types of monitors, regardless of whether it's 4K, whether it's
Right.
going to be new TNN, whether it's going to be IPS. I don't think it matters. I think everybody just wants to continue to see improved and evolved monitor type designs. So I give kudos. Hey, Acer's done an interesting design there with the 4K. I think for us still, as you guys know, 4K is a really interesting technology. I mean, we're launching right now our brand new PB monitor. It's going to be really price
I know.
aggressive.
I have one.
There you go. Right. So, we're all behind that. But, to every single one of these, right? When you factor in a monitor, there's so much more to consider than just a monitor, right? It's,
Yeah.
the games that you're playing, it's the GPUs that you're going to be running in the system. So there's a lot of different perspectives. So there's not going to be ever one monitor that rules them all, I think, in that perspective, right? You can maybe get close. Maybe we could get pretty close to having some right specs to stuff, but a lot of this is driven by so many different things. So for us, we're going to continue to embrace, I think, all the technologies on the market and listen to you guys at what you guys want.
All right. Now, I have another question from Omid. Now, given that Intel didn't change much going from Z87 to Z97, and I think you'd be hard pressed to find a massive change log from the ASUS side, given that it wasn't really necessary. Why are some reviewers finding they're getting better overclocking results and better temps on Z97 on the same Haswell chips?
Part of this is sometimes actually time differential. There's changes in the overall what's called MEI. It's really interesting. We're seeing some of this. Some of the stuff we're asking reviewers to go back and evaluate because in our internal analysis, it's pretty much actually par. Par for par, but there are some technical implementations that sometimes actually reviewers don't fully evaluate. One of the really things that's interesting with the fiber, so that integrated voltage regulator, and then what's called your VCC in as far as voltage is that the voltage that you see defined within something like CPU-Z is not actually your real necessarily voltage. That's the voltage that's actually being communicated by the fiber, but the voltage or the VCC input can actually be lower than that voltage, and then based on efficiency, you can have a different measurement. So two boards could actually be effectively giving you the same voltage, but can achieve it in different ways if, let's say, one has a lower VCCN and one has a higher VCCN. So that can account actually for temperature differential. The other thing is that over time, if let's say they first tested some boards like 6 months ago, and then new tuning has come out where they make optimizations to actually load policies, and they make changes to actually different parts of the UEFI that change different actually conditioning parameters, whether it's the VRM efficiency or different parameters. All those things can sometimes offset a little bit of numbers. But I can tell you from our internal analysis, overall, users should generally, if you take a 4770K, 4670K, between a Z87 platform and then a Z97 platform, the actual OC experience is pretty much linear. It's the same. You're not getting a diminished experience, and you're not getting actually a better experience. It's the same clocking experience. For our boards, we do have a revised DRAM topology. So DRAM topology scaling is even a little bit better, so you can even get higher. But to real world users, it's not really relevant because most users, are maybe going up to 2132, 2400. So regardless that we can do higher memory dividers, it doesn't really impact the real user. So most of this really just comes down to difference in sometimes the underlying code base, changes in, let's say, voltage rules and policies that sometimes the reviewers aren't always as, let's say, always understanding of or not maybe fully accounting for, because they might be looking for just one numerical value versus another numerical value.
All right, so I've got another one for you. I guess along the lines of Z87 to Z97 changes again, because I did promise I'd give you an opportunity to cover that with us here. Is what are the biggest changes between, or the biggest differences that you guys have aimed to deliver here with the Z97 boards, whether it's compared to what the competition's doing, and you don't have to name any names, or whether it's compared to the last generation Z87 implementations?
Well, for us, I mean, we're always in the game of pushing the envelope, right? We're always going to try to look at what the experience is and can we make those experiences better, regardless of what it is. I think probably the biggest ones that we did that they might seem small, but when you really kind of look at them in the bigger picture, they were really hard to implement, but they really give a whole nother level of experience. Are going to be really in the auto tuning technologies, in the sound, and with the fan controls. But I mean, there's been improvements to every single aspect. But the fan control stuff is pretty awesome, right? The last previous generations, we'd always talked about having that full fan header control for every single header, 3-pin and 4-pin support. But this year, having the ability to go to every single header and manually define whether it's a PWM or DC-based control is awesome, because now that gives you the ability that if you want to put PWM splitters on there, you want to get like a Source 530 and have those 3 front intake fans all be regulated by one chassis fan header, all in the same signal. Bam, power those fans from the PSU, get them all tuned with the same actual fan curve, and you're rocking and rolling, right? That's sweet, because it just adds a whole nother layer of granularity and control how you set up your airflow and you set up your experience.
And you know what's funny is the thing that really blew me away is about the new fan control is one that you didn't even mention, and that's the fact that it's within the UEFI now, and I can define all those curves in basic mode. I click one thing and I go, yep, header by header. Here's the curve I want. I want it on a predefined curve. I want to do my own manual curve because, again, so real talk time. This is a WAN show. We're casual. I don't really like AI Suite very much. It's been a big problem for me at various times throughout its history. And while I haven't tried it in the last probably 3 to 6 months, I've tried it fairly recently enough that I just am not a huge fan. Whereas UEFI implementation of something like that, wow, what a godsend, because now I can really take advantage of that feature in a way that is bulletproof.
And this one thing to not shoot at AI Suite, despite I don't use it either, is that getting away from the software implementation is just nice anyways. Because if you reformat your computer, change out a drive, or do whatever, that's less that you have to think about when you're setting everything back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that applies more to you guys as reviewers, right? Most users, they talk about actually how long they can try to keep rolling over their OS. We see so many people take OSs from one chipset to another chipset, and they don't ever even reinstall. But I guess that'll be my challenge, is to win you over, because that's one thing that we work really hard on is the software suite. But that is a good example. We had to work really hard on actually putting in that full graphical fan curve, the calibration, and all that stuff. And literally, it's redundant. We spent time and effort to do something that we had already done 2 years before, but we did it just to be able to give more of our base of users more accessibility. So whether it's guys that, for whatever reason, don't want to embrace the software, well, then we can give it to you in another direction, and you can still get that same experience. And then you added on, rounding that all out, giving you the temperature input control per header. I mean, that's awesome, right? That you can go in and say, hey, my front intake fan should not have to respond to my CPU, right? Why can't that respond to my motherboard? Why can't that respond to my PCH? Why can't that respond to another temperature input? And I think the biggest part, is a lot of time we get pigeonholed as being the premium vendor, the more expensive vendor. Look at the Z97-A. Again, there is not a better value proposition board, in my opinion. $140 motherboard that has that class of fan controls. I don't want to, bring competitors into it. Guys, you know me long enough. I'm not that kind of guy that I bash on, the other guys. But Gigabyte, ASRock, MSI, none of them.
But everyone.
Everyone else.
None of them
I'm gonna
have
just
that.
combo punch the entire team right now.
Their highest end motherboard doesn't have that fan control that I have on a $140 motherboard. When you talk about value, I don't know how much it gets better than that from a value proposition.
You know what? The funny thing about you saying that is I can imagine already. I mean, there's a delay on the Twitch stream, but I can already imagine what's going to happen in about 20 seconds where people are going to say, oh, I don't care about that fan control. That doesn't have a value for me. I don't really care. I like all my fans running at 100% or whatever else. But my response to that is, you know what? There are some people who care a whole lot about that, and 2 of them sitting in this room have spent over $150 on a software fan controller that basically...
Hardware fan controller.
Sorry, so hardware fan controller that we have to configure through software that's much flakier than AI Suite has ever been.
A lot worse.
Just to get that functionality that you guys are now including on a board that costs less than what we paid for an M-Cubed T-Balancer. Yeah. So someone out there appreciates it, even if not everybody does, and it is a definite value add.
Even if it's like possibly the only 2 people in Canada.
Well, no, I mean, there's definitely. I mean, we know for sure that it's a lot more people than just you guys. It's just the bigger thing is sometimes just edifying people and helping them understand this, and it's hard. We talked about this last time. This is not an easy game to be in when there's so many features and there's so many functions to be cognizant and to be aware of. But we work on it. But I think, like I said, the fan controls. I think the auto tuning stuff is awesome. I mean, this generation, you having the ability to do target temperature based overclocking, so that if you want to have the overclock be limited to 70C or 80C, and it's only going to do it to that, having it be frequency based, having the app tuning stuff, right, where you can conditionally profile your application to a specific overclock and have that dynamically adjust things like network prioritization or audio stuff. I mean, I think crazy stuff. If you start to really evaluate some of these functions and features, it's kind of crazy that you're getting this level of control. And while you guys might not be using the software to make this end user available, the power and class of this functionality, I don't think people thought, especially 3 years ago, 4 years ago, every year people say, yeah, there's not more that you can do. It's all over. There's no more innovation that can be done. And then you do stuff like this and people go, how come this hasn't been on a motherboard for the last 5 years? Right?
And the funny thing is, even I find myself doing it sometimes, where I'll be using all the latest stuff because that's what I generally use. And then, well, no, really though, because whenever we're evaluating something, we don't benchmark whatever's 5 years old.
So that before.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen very often. But that's exactly it. Is I'll be using all this latest stuff, and then the other day I was putting together a pfSense box, and I dug an H55 board out of a box somewhere, and I was like, oh yeah, it's got like a dual core, so it's relatively low, power consumption or whatever, also relatively low performance, so I don't mind tying it up in that box just to try it out. Mm-hmm. And I was blown away by just all the crap it didn't have. Yep. Even though I didn't feel like between H55 and now, I didn't really feel like there was any kind of huge generational improvement in features. I was just like, oh, this thing doesn't have anything. It doesn't have onboard buttons. It doesn't have
Going back to those classic old school blue screen Phoenix BIOS setups.
I know.
It's oh wow, yeah, this has been a while actually.
and that's actually, it's perfect that you bring that up, because that's, highlighting back to I think your very first question, right? Or maybe your second one about people upgrading. This is where I think it's sometimes hard as you guys reviewers, is that the value proposition, sometimes you kind of go this meh mentality, right? When a new chipset comes out, because you guys are maybe looking at it right from the previous one. But I think that we've done a whole lot to improve from Z87 to Z97. But it is also really important to remember, I mean, you guys have a really, really great community. And so you guys know about the systems that these users have. But, imagine somebody right now coming over from an X58 platform to just like our Dash 8 or our Pro motherboard, and everything that they're getting just on the board level, right? Let's not forget the things that are chipset derived, but just on the board functionality level, there's an insane amount of stuff that they totally just are not even remotely near coming over from that chipset to this chipset.
All right, so JJ, this is a question from Louis A. Moon, and I tend to agree with him. Mm-hmm. Why don't you use right-angle USB 3 connectors?
So if you actually notice, we do use it on the Sabertooth series, and we've actually done it now for, I think, 3 generations. But we don't do it as a whole because we still see actually chassis compatibility issues. So I think really the only company that's really kind of gung-ho about it is EVGA. And we've like I said, we just don't do it because we still see enough issues with that. There are some chassis where the actual space, if you were to right angle that cable, it actually will obstruct into the hard drive cage. So it's a bit tight in that spacing. And as you know, that USB 3 header, it's a fat blocky header, and it's really hard to deal with in terms of that. What we're actually, I think, playing around with more is that we're trying to develop kind of like a USB 3Q connector, so that you could actually put that in, and it'll have actually a flexible cable that you could then run through like your routing holes in your chassis. And the tricky thing about that is that there's a cost. So you actually have to pay a royalty cost every time you do like a USB 3 spec. This is why this is why a lot of the chassis, if you notice, there's like a really big drop off between entry level chassis having front USB 3 and then all of them having USB 2, right? And you saw like this weird area where there was like stuff from NZXT or Cooler Master, these other ones, where they only have like one front USB 3.
Yeah.
That's because the cost. So they charge you for this USB 3 header. So you know, we're looking at trying to do that, but then we would have to pay the cost for putting the adapter and do all that stuff. But
Right.
that's really what it comes down to. Is it's literally right now that if we saw more chassis. Now, the argument could be said, well, you know, if we do it maybe on higher end boards, so maybe like Pro and above, it's probably going to go into a chassis where there's more than enough space between where the board sits and where the hard drive keys are. The
But you
hard
can't
drive
always
cases,
count on that.
right?
No.
Yeah, but that's the hard part, right? Is that we kind of have to balance that out. So I think for me, I'd rather do kind of the Q connector kind of thing. I think people would be okay with that.
Yep.
So I think that's probably the direction we're moving closer towards than seeing the USB 3 header actually go right angle. And there is also a little bit of actually signal integrity issues that when you turn it actually to the right angle, that you can actually change a little bit of some of the layout topology and stuff like that. And since we don't want to have to go rework the entire board from that perspective,
Right.
you know, it makes a little bit more sense to save the work that we've already done.
Okay, so let's talk Devil's Canyon. Are we going to see... I mean, I already know the answer to this, but this is a question from Fabian. Are we going to see Devil's Canyon CPUs work on your Z97 boards? Are we going to see them work on your Z87 boards?
So this is a tricky topic. So I'll give you guys as much information as I can on this point.
Sure.
Intel requires what's called MEI compliance for certain CPUs. So there is, you guys kind of know the option ROM, right? The option ROM on a serial ATA controller, like on the Intel motherboards, right? So that's like the firmware for the SATA controller. And sometimes when new chipsets come out, there's actually new option ROM, right? Well, the same thing. When a new chipset comes out, there's new MEI firmware generally corresponding to that CPU. So technically, to support the new Devil's Canyon CPUs, you have to be running the new MEI firmware. So I believe it's 9.1 MEI firmware. So all Z97 motherboards have that. But for Z87, they're running on an older MEI firmware. So you will actually have to backport that MEI firmware block to those boards. Now, we've done some internal testing already, and we have been able to actually backport this. But as to what the time frame may be for us to formally roll this out, or whether we will formally roll that out, I can't state that at this time. We're still evaluating, because there's also a concern that we talked about this, I think, last time with AMD, where there's always a little bit of trickiness when you backport new CPUs to an older chipset and you make the UEFI or the BIOS compatible for that. You don't want it to break the overall performance or the interoperability compatibility for the old CPU platform. Right? Because we have to overall favor the majority of people that have the old CPU versus the new CPU, because most users, I mean, statistically on that old chipset aren't going to upgrade to a new CPU, but they may go out there and they may download that new UEFI at 4.6 or 4.7, and it maybe brings down their overhead a little bit because, there's different code base and different that running around in there. We try not to do that. So our rule of thumb is we try to keep the performance for the previous CPU the same, or within a 5% margin. If it doesn't adhere to that, then it's something that we might not do. And then there's also still there is also resource limitations and things like that. As you guys know, there's another chipset that I can't talk about, but it's coming down later down the pipe. So this is all just about a managed resource. But I think our track record has been pretty good in this regard. So as soon as I have more information on what will happen specifically for Z87, you guys will definitely know. I will make sure to let you guys know as far as how that works out. But right now, guaranteed 100% support is exclusive to Z97.
All right, so what I'd like to do is, guys, we're going to thank everyone for sending in their Q&A questions for JJ. Thanks, JJ, for answering them. But hold on, I'm not quite done with you yet, JJ, because I'd love for you to hang around with us for one more topic that isn't a Q&A, but this is something that I have personally bitched to you about, and now I may be getting my way. I'm extremely excited, and I would love to hear your thoughts on the rumor that Intel's upcoming Xeons, including some pretty crazy, like 18-core SKUs, may be unlocked or even water cooling optimized, which has implications that I'm sure are fairly obvious to you for enthusiasts. And this was posted originally on the forum by Luca.
He doesn't look like he wants to answer.
Luca P. So, let's, oh yeah, and the original article was from hardwarebot.org.
Sounds interesting to me. That's about all I can say.
Oh, come on!
I wasn't expecting more than that, to be honest.
Sounds interesting to me. But I will preface this. I will preface this. There's always a lot of interesting things that comes about on the interwebs, as you guys know, and your guys' forums is a hotbed for a lot of this stuff circulating around and people discussing it.
No.
Not at
and
all.
and some of it is sometimes true and some of it's not true, but even around like the upcoming Devil's Canyon, there's been a lot of supposed communication and validation at what people perceive to be truths that were existing before in the community, and they think that all of a sudden there's been changes that all of a sudden have somehow aligned with these truths that they think existed about older CPUs and are going to be all of a sudden, I guess, proven true for the refresh-based CPUs. And, all things will come in time as far as you'll see the way things work out. But, like it is, all things will come in time, right? So,
That didn't sound like a denial.
I can't, like I said, I wish I could say more, but just have to keep it tuned, right? And I'm sure the moment that something is confirmed and validated, they're going to find out from you guys because you guys are great about giving everybody that information.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, JJ, without you having to confirm or deny anything, first of all, thank you very much for coming on the show. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on again. And second of all, just like the conversation I had with NVIDIA, where I was swapping emails with my PR contact at like 3 a.m, where I sent out of the blue, I'm just like, Shield 2 rumors are starting to float around, and we're hearing screen resolution this, we're hearing that. Obviously, the CPUs or the GPU, whatever you want to call it. I could really piss NVIDIA off and call it an APU. Obviously, that's been pretty much ready for a while. So I sent this email. I'm like, hey, make sure I'm on the top of the list for a Shield 2. And he just sends back, lol. But that was all the response I needed. I just made sure he heard me. JJ, man, make sure that if any of this enthusiast grade, multi-core, overclocking, unlock stuff happens, whatever board you guys have that is the very best one, whether that's a WS or whatever else, please make sure that I'm on the top of the list. The list, man.
You guys are always on the top of my list. You guys are great.
Thank you.
And, we always try to work
should we all like kind of hug and kiss before we say bye here?
Well, we need to. I'm not even trying to get one. We need to.
It's all good. We got a healthy bromance going on. It's all right. I think we're all comfortable here.
You got to get us 2 of those boards if they exist, because he's gonna steal one, and I need to benchmark it.
You know what?
I don't even care personally. I can not take it home. That's fine. He's going to take it home, so I need another one for testing.
I will give you one thing. It's something I wrote about it on the PC DIY site that I handled the confident for, but I think it's like a little bit lone fact. I don't know if you guys already kind of found out about it, but since I couldn't give you a confirm or deny about what you guys asked about, a lot of people have been asking about the Swift. One of the really cool things I can tell you for the Swift is, the Swift, you guys know all the new specs it'll have, but one of the new functions it will be the first 3D Vision 2560 enabled panel. So you'll be able to game and actually at 3D resolutions beyond 1080. So that's at least something maybe you guys didn't know about. Kind of cool.
I did not.
I don't like 3D.
I know you don't like 3D, but some people do. And you haven't tried it with a low persistence backlight monitor, have you?
That's true. No, I haven't.
So this could be very interesting.
I've tried the light boost hack though.
All right, so thank you very much, JJ, and we will hopefully have you on again, I guess, in another year when another. Oh no, because you can neither confirm nor deny that we're gonna have another chipset sooner than that. But
right.
Why don't we all agree that we're gonna reconvene sooner than a year from now?
Yeah, I definitely will say sooner than a year from now we can reconvene. And if any of your guys have any questions that they want answered that I didn't answer, you can tell them they can post in the forum. I'll jump back in there a little bit later tonight, and I'll be more than happy to answer anybody's questions. That's
fantastic. All right, thanks JJ, and thanks to all of our viewers. If you guys want to just let JJ know, give him a big old thanks JJ in the Twitch chat or on Twitter or whatever else. I'm sure he'll want to check that out. But now it is time to to cover our sponsors for the day. So first up, we've got Squarespace. Now, they asked us to do something a little bit different. So normally, we would say, okay, Squarespace is the beautiful way to create your own, very own, awesome, fantastic website, and it's, you know, relatively inexpensive. Actually, it's quite inexpensive. They have 24/7 support. Okay, all that stuff that I normally say. This time, they actually asked me for something very, very different. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to play this here song that is known as...
I'm not going to be able to hear it.
I have it. That is...
What?
You can hear it. That is known as the Squarespace jingle. Also, there might be some lip syncing going on in the corner up here. Oh, it's muted. How dare you be muted? This is the Song a Day guy, by the way. Here we go. All right. Okay. We got the lyrics too.
It's the all-in-one platform. Makes it fast and easy to create. You can start with 20 highly customizable templates to make your own professional website or online portfolio. Industry-leading support at just $8 a month. Whoa, you know the drill, you know where to go. Squarespace, get started today. Make the website that you want to make. Squarespace, so easy and fast. They fund all your favorite podcasts. They fund all your favorite podcasts. So start your free trial. No credit card required or responsive design. Every device, every time. All the options you need to create a unique website. They're constantly improving the platform and the tools, and it's awesome.
There you go.
Squarespace, get started today. Make a website that you want to make. Squarespace, so easy and fast. They fund all your favorite podcasts. They fund all your favorite podcasts.
And that, my friends, is the Squarespace song. And they sent this over to me, and I was like, yeah, okay, we can play this on the show. But I tell you what, guys, there is no way that we can take this seriously, because even though the song legit actually contains all the key selling points of Squarespace, it's not a serious song by any stretch of the imagination. So, guys, the point of this is not necessarily to listen to it and kind of go, oh, now I completely understand Squarespace. The point, more than anything else, is to go, look, this is a fun way to get the word out there about Squarespace, and most importantly, a fun way to talk about how Squarespace funds some pretty awesome podcasts, including ours, and it's a big reason that we are actually able to exist and able to do this kind of thing. And that was the whole thing in the chorus about we fund all your favorite podcasts, because they're very proud of their role in supporting the podcast community, something that a lot of other companies are just not that interested in because the ROI is very difficult to measure. So guys, just remember, you want to make your own beautiful website, head over to squarespace.com/Linus for a free trial and 10% off. You get 10% off with offer code Linus. There we go. Not my most graceful read ever, but speaking of graceful and perfect segues that couldn't be any better no matter what happened, Modus is a new sponsor of the WAN show, and you guys all need to, like, legitimately, if you have a Facebook account, and I know not all of you are going to, but you are going to want to head over to Facebook and head over to the Modus page. So that's MODIS, because Geek Stakes is going on right now, you guys. And Geek Stakes was actually a collaborative thing that we worked on. Austin Evans has been involved, and it is basically a bunch of crazy awesome prizes. What? Hey guys, it's Geek Stakes 2014. No, but seriously, we helped pick all the prizes because they asked us just for some insight into what our audience would want them to give away. So here, I'm just going to screen share really quick here. So there you go. It's facebook.com/Modus. So Modus is an IT recruiter. So not only do they give away a bunch of cool stuff, but you can submit your resume to them for free, and they handle placements to Fortune 500 companies, little tiny startups, and all throughout the IT industry. It's a way of getting a job in the IT industry that, quite frankly, I had never actually considered.
I'd heard of it.
So it costs nothing for the actual user, and major, like big companies, they asked me not to name any names, but big companies use these guys to fill some seriously cool
I'm
positions.
sure if you're one of the people that want to sign up for this, your Google Foo is probably good enough to kind of figure that out.
Yeah, so anyway, guys, the Geek Stakes runs from May 23rd to June 6th, and if you go back every day, you can get additional entries. I do want to talk a little bit about what they are giving away. So there's an MSI GS60. That was my personal contribution. I was like, okay, look, you guys, whatever other prizes you got, like, that's cool. That's cool, but you want to make sure you've got like a sweet gaming notebook, and that was one that was able to fit into the price that we were able to kind of take away from everything else and be able to hit. They are giving away an Oculus Rift. They are giving away a Parrot AR drone, a Lytro camera, that camera that you can focus after you take the picture.
Right.
They're giving away a Fire TV, a Sphero, that Bluetooth controlled ball, Pebble smartwatch. That was my personal contribution as well. Jaybird BlueBuds X Bluetooth earbud set. Almost everything on this list is stuff we've reviewed in the past.
Yeah.
They're giving away an M45 gaming mouse, my personal favorite gaming mouse right now. So guys, definitely go and check that out. Which brings us into our last sponsor. Guys, if you haven't had enough ASUS on this show already, what on earth are you doing? You know what? Just go back to the standard one, because we've got our ASUS ROG notebook right there. If you haven't had enough ASUS on this show, I'm gonna drink some ASUS Kool-Aid here some more and talk to you guys about the G750JZ.
I don't think we have any other ASUS things.
Okay.
Oh, it's a monitor.
So I was doing the WAN show and I
Oh,
brought a
no.
laptop. I thought that I would rap, but you didn't give a crap top about my rhymes that just ain't that great. But on the show, it's my show, so don't hate.
Oh my god, you prepped that, didn't
No,
you?
I actually didn't. Sorry.
Really?
That was 100% freestyle.
That was pretty good.
I've freestyled better on the show before. But anyway, the point, guys, is the G750JZ is a legit powerful gaming notebook. I'm never going to make it through. You know, it's
Legit power. That should be their new tagline.
It's funny.
Rock solid. Legit power.
the saddest part is I don't even think it's impossible.
No. Can't even power. Legit. Literally can't even power.
Okay, so anyway, the point is, it's funny because with these with the way we talk about the G750JZ, like we eventually laboriously get the point across. But if I was ASUS, I'd be like, what are these guys doing over there? But truthfully, and this is like the biggest tease ever because I'm not going to tell you guys anything about it. ASUS just signed on with us for something really exciting. It's a collaborative effort between me and Logan and some other guys potentially, and they are going to be our presenting sponsor for it. We're going to be talking about potentially another cool ASUS gaming laptop, and it is going to be absolutely like bat crap crazy. Expect that to happen around the end of June. But in the meantime, G750JZ is what I would consider to be about as good as it gets for a desktop replacement without getting into that unreasonable size where it just doesn't really make any sense anymore and the battery life isn't that good. Like with the 750JZ, I can get through almost 2 full WAN shows on one charge in spite of the fact that it is a gaming notebook, and if I am gaming, obviously battery life's not as good, but I can get performance that is pretty close to what you could do on a modern generation desktop, and actually probably about the same as what you could do on a last gen high performance gaming desktop with a single GPU, enthusiast grade GPU.
You know what we should do? You know how we make like tech quickie commercials for different companies every once in a
Oh,
while?
hold on. So thanks ASUS for sponsoring the WAN show and providing us with these awesome laptops to use while we broadcast to you guys. It's like pretty cool of them.
It's
Okay.
nice considering my last one barely works anymore. We should make a like tech wiki style commercial thing for JZ laptops, but we should make it where it's a rap battle featuring
no.
Linus, and Linus has to like go through these. It's kind of like the Pokemon League, but in rap battle form. So you have to like beat all these different rap battle trainer people, and they all have like different styles, and you have to make your way through it, and then when you win, you get a Jay-Z laptop.
Okay. Oh, hey guys. Oh,
Just-
sorry.
Nope.
Totally off topic. I've got our where is it? Okay, well, okay. Anyway, back to the Modus giveaway really quickly here. Just screen share me. The first draw is in half an hour. So guys, seriously, legitimately, go check it out. Go like the page right now, and you'll be entered to win a stick and find. So that's that little Bluetooth sticker that Luke and I used for that fun little video we did where we played Hide the Sausage. So guys, seriously, like just go there now and go click it, because otherwise I will have to eat gruel for several weeks. And I don't think you would want that.
Twitch chat liked my idea.
What was your idea?
The
Oh, I
rap
hate
battle.
your idea. Your idea
Why?
is stupid.
Why?
Your idea is bad, and you should feel bad.
I want to see you rap battle.
You want to see me rap battle?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I do actually.
Oh boy. And yet you don't want to make a foot flick music video.
Okay. So last show, you guys, I brought up the foot flick thing about how every nerd knows how to do the foot flick so they don't yank Ethernet cables and destroy devices. So I was saying we should do like a really quick kind of tech tips video on like everyone should know how to do the foot flick. This is how you do the foot flick. And his reaction was awesome, but let's make it a music video.
Do the foot flick. Do the foot flick.
So making like new dance moves. But part of the foot flick is you got to flick your foot back so hard that you fall forward.
Yeah.
So the whole thing's gonna have to be like this.
Yeah.
boom.
It couldn't be the same person every time.
No.
Like the idea is that like we'd have like one cable during the chorus, and like one person would walk by and like do the foot flick, and they'd like roll past it, and then like the next person come by, do the foot flick, and if you can't do the foot flick, you're gonna be in trouble. You're gonna be on the ground on the double, and then like someone falls. Like,
See, I would love to see you in a rap battle. I think you could do it.
oh, I love it.
I definitely think you could do it. So are we? Yeah, I don't know. We got to do something with the foot flick,
Okay.
whatever
Okay.
it ends up being.
We will do something with the foot flick. I cannot promise nor threaten that it will be a rap battle or a music video, but it will definitely be something. All right, speaking of things that are definitely something, this is cool. I mean, we don't often just find like a little small PC announcement and sort of make a big deal about it on the WAN show, unless it's a product that we think is like really, really different. And this is still just an all-in-one mini PC, or not all-in-one, pardon me. It's still just a mini PC, but look at it. This is the ZBox Sphere. And what it is it is a tiny PC. Like okay, this isn't giving you guys much of an idea of the scale here. So this was posted on the forum by 4960X. Seriously, people who put like years in their usernames or like individual products in their usernames, you guys gotta forward think a little bit more. Anyway, it's about this big. I saw it first at CES, but this thing's got a Core i5 processor in it and is a full computer in the size of a sphere. And you know what? They deserve some attention for this, for trying to think literally outside the box.
No, you don't want to do that.
Oh, are you sweaty?
It's nasty.
Brody. Okay, well, the point is they're thinking outside the box in much the same way that Apple is getting so much attention for, but who else is going to pay attention to Zotac for doing something a little bit different other than us? So I've requested a review sample of that. I do want to tell you guys more about it. I think it's really cool. You basically twist off the top for toolless upgrades. It takes a 2.5-inch SSD, an mSATA SSD, and 2 SODIMM modules, and yeah, I think that is pretty darn cool. Speaking of things that aren't pretty darn cool,
Oh yeah.
what? So this was posted on the forum by Niels Kersik, and the original article is from tweakers.net, and basically Google sent out a letter that was discovered by the Wall Street Journal. Thank you, Wall Street Journal, for being cool. This letter was sent to the Securities and Exchange Commission back in December, arguing that they don't have to specify their revenues on mobile ads, and one of the arguments that they brought up is that it's difficult to indicate mobile devices because the definition keeps on changing. Like, it's difficult to pin down what exactly is a mobile device. So they use possible future examples such as fridges, thermostats, glasses, and watches. But the problem here is that even though Google hasn't talked or even indicated that they have any plans of implementing ads on any of those kinds of devices, it shows that they're thinking about it. Like, how annoying would that be on something like a watch where you
It's
have
gonna
such
cover the whole screen.
limited real estate, where it's like, or okay, but let's move away from sort of the watches we have today and kind of go, okay, what about the watch of tomorrow where it has a holographic display or whatever else? Could we be looking at a situation where you like are expected to look past an ad, or like if you look at it at the wrong angle, there's like an ad in your face? Like,
Yeah, probably, and it's frustrating because this brings up the thing that we've talked about before too, which is where you totally buy a device and then that person that you bought the device from serves you ads, which is crazy frustrating.
Okay, speaking of, so anyway, that's just, it was a very brief discussion topic there. Speaking of buying a device and then having the rug completely pulled out from under you, LG has, LG, guys, not cool. Like, not cool what's going on here. And as much as Noir's original post about this is super lame, it just says silly LG and then is a link to the original source here. That is not how we do things, Noir. Still, I actually am not sure what else I could have said about it. So the original article is from techdirt.com, and basically what happened is this gentleman didn't want to roll out an update to his 2-year-old TV that would change the privacy policy in such a way that he wasn't comfortable with. So what LG...
With good reason.
Sorry?
With good reason.
With good reason. So what LG... Oh, yeah, okay, so what it said was, when you use Live Plus, we may share certain viewing information, device information, and basic usage information with third parties for advertising and analytics purposes, and enable the provision of information relevant to what you are viewing. To third-party vendors that LG Electronics may engage to provide services on its behalf from time to time, such as to collect payment for content you purchase, or to fulfill customer service requests, or to provide advertising services. So basically,
God.
the guy was like, yeah, no, that's not cool. So LG basically goes, okay, well, you can either accept it or you cannot use the smart TV features of your smart TV that you bought. And it's not like he can just take it back to the store at this point. It's a
been 2
2-year-old
years.
TV.
That's about it from Costco.
Even Costco doesn't take back 2-year-old TVs
Oh,
anymore.
wow.
I think it's a 3-month limit now.
Wow.
I can't even begin to understand how they feel like this is okay. I mean, it's...
And they definitely do, because it's very plainly written
Yes.
that that's going to happen.
It's part of their policy that they can just not if you refuse to accept the usage changes. And you know what? They're not the only ones who have covered their butts in such a way that, you know, they could just change anything at any time and you would just have to deal with it. I just feel like, guys, when we hear about things like this, we have a responsibility to not support the guys who are, if nothing else, even if everyone has this as part of their policy, we can choose not to support the ones that are enforcing it. And at least make the ones that aren't enforcing it kind of look at what's going on and go, oh, okay, well...
Let's keep not enforcing
Let's
this.
keep not enforcing that, because otherwise we are going to back ourselves into a corner where we are just going to have no choice and we're not going to have another option.
I've never really been interested in smart TVs because I find that, honestly, most of them are junk anyways.
They truly are.
So I wouldn't have bought one anyways, but this makes it so that if I had to, I would specifically not buy an LG one. Because, again, we have to try and vote with our wallets. It rarely seems to work,
Yeah,
but if we can try again, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, if we could just try that again,
That would be
That would be
great.
great. Thanks.
Dang.
All right, so big news this week, and I would love for you guys to let's do like just a general Twitter Blitz Q&A. We're getting pretty close to the end of the show, and if you could specifically let me know, because I have zero marketing support from Microsoft. I don't know a single person in PR or at their PR firm. So for me to review the Surface 3, I'm going to straight up have to buy it. So if you guys can let me know, like, because I don't need another laptop. Got G750JZ, yo. Anyway, I don't need another laptop, so if someone is like, yeah, I would totally buy that off you, Linus, without you having to take a huge hit on it, Or if you guys are like, look, this is totally worth the $1,200 or so you're going to have to spend on a medium spec one to really, yeah, I know it's a lot of money, and we really need you to review this. We really need you to talk about this. Guys, let me know how important this is to you. But basically, here it is. The Verge was at the launch event. They've got some pictures of it here, and this looks like what I pretty much asked for back when they launched the original Surface and the Surface RT. It is thinner. The keyboard implementation is better, so they've got a backlit type cover now that actually mounts to the screen in a different way. So you can actually fold it up flat and then lay it against it so that it angles up a little bit at the same time. The touchpad is bigger on the type cover. What they've effectively done is they've made it, while the battery life is still not quite there. It's about 8 hours, which is pretty good. But when you compare that to, 13 hours on the MacBook Air? Apple is like, I want someone to beat them.
Batteries are holding everything back everywhere.
Yeah, batteries are holding everything back. So anyway, the point is they have pretty much delivered what I asked for when they first launched this device. Longer battery, great power consumption, it's thinner, it's beautiful, it's more functional, and it legitimately replaces both the tablet and the notebook in a way that the original just couldn't do, because the changes they've made to the kickstand allow it, instead of just locking into a position or two, it uses a friction mount to go anywhere from 22 to 150 degrees. So you can sit the thing up in your lap and still have it be supported well enough that you can use it that way, or you can lay it down flat and write on it with a 256 pressure layer or pressure level stylus, and you can really use it in every possible way. Apparently, the front-facing speakers sound great. This is a real drawback of many devices out there that I just feel like do a crappy job of implementing audio, and I'm glad to see someone other than HTC taking front-facing speakers and how important they are seriously. And like, honestly, guys, it's faster. It just looks like one seriously cool device.
I really like that raise up that you can do on the
Yeah,
type cover.
see,
I hope it actually
this is what I'm talking about right here.
doesn't make it kind of flex down a lot while you're typing, because that would not be very good.
I don't know. This is the kind of thing that I'd really like to... There's a close-up of the hinge. This is all from The Verge. This is how you can lay it all the way down flat, pretty much, so you can draw on it. It's really clean looking, so that Surface branding on the back of it is pretty much all you see. It apparently does get a little bit warm in use. I actually like this placement of the Windows button right here rather than the bottom one, because when I sit and use a tablet or even a notebook, I'm using my hands or a hand, and this is as good or better, always, than down here.
Yeah.
Where it's more of a, like, you like grab something and you're liable to accidentally press it as often as press it on purpose.
Yeah.
So let's do that Twitter blitz, shall we, guys? We want to hear from you. I feel bad. I feel like we don't do enough Twitter interaction on this show anymore, but we just have so much stuff to talk about. Captain Cake says, buy one, review it, and return it. Okay, that is a good suggestion, but there is an issue with that, and that's that if something goes wrong and we we scratch it or something, then we're in a pretty bad situation. Yeah. Someone says they would rather see us check out the Lenovo X1 Carbon. So that's from Ryan Jenkins. Greg says it's really cool, but I don't think the audience would be interested enough. Well, that's the point of this Twitter blitz. Let's find out what the audience thinks about this, actually. Speaking of the audience, there were a couple of things that I had in here that I wanted a straw poll. Okay, one straw poll. Luke, can you create a straw poll on the Infinideck? So that was that omnidirectional treadmill we looked at before versus augmented reality. Which one you would be more excited about if you could have a full setup of either of them for the same price, let's say, and it supported all the same games.
So Infinideck VR versus Infinideck AR?
Versus, no, just AR, like running around out and about. Okay, so let's keep Twitter blitzing here, guys. Someone says, don't buy it. My Asus TB100 performs probably just as good. If you can borrow it, do that, of course, but it's not worth your own money. DeLons, yeah, I know you want it. Guys, by the way, this is the DeLons, who you can do two things for. One of two things. You can either thank him for being the one who does the WAN show table of contents, or you can troll him for being the one who makes the occasional mistake in the WAN show table of contents. But huge shout out to DeLons, because without him, the WAN show takes takes a lot longer for us to get up because by the end of Friday, Luke and I are just exhausted. And going back and rewatching the show that we just broadcast and like creating a table of contents for it is not real high on our list of things that we like super awesomely want to do. And DeLon's was actually the one who came up with the idea of doing a condensed table of contents and then the super detailed one that you guys can find topic by topic what interests you the most.
Hey, Twitch decided to allow me to be a mod again.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
That's
I wasn't
good.
this entire stream so far.
I would like to see the new Surface, but wouldn't be the end of the world if I didn't get one. Okay, all right. Lower your dongers because the mods are perma-banning for flexing dongers. The Surface looks great. Don't have the money now. So much better than terrible. Windows 8.1 is still a real challenge for me. Like I still, you know,
Permissions issues, man.
you know what it is? 95, 98% of the time, I'm 100% okay with it. But then when I'm actually in a hurry to get something done, and I swipe off the side of my touchpad accidentally when I'm just trying to move the mouse, it really drives me up the wall. It really does. In a way that I can't even rationally justify. But and like when I fire up a new PC and I go to listen to a song or look at a picture and it opens that garbage modern UI application that is
So it's
just
less hurdles to jump through
worthless. On
Windows 7.
I just go, oh, and they have to sit and wait for it to launch, and they're so slow.
They're really slow.
They're slow to launch, and it's just, I know, it's only a few seconds, and this is a total first world problem, and it's stupid.
But it's not slow to launch the desktop application.
But it's not slow to launch the desktop app. We're solving a problem that we never had. Anyway, yes, please do it, says Sebastian. Isn't it funny how you care more about the way your case interior looks than the way your watch looks? What's wrong with my watch?
Yeah, really.
I like this watch. Actually, a lot of people have asked me about this. This is a Cogito smartwatch. I haven't spent much time with the app yet, so don't run out and buy them just because I'm wearing it yet. I will let you guys know what I think of it. But I've had a lot of people compliment me on this watch, to be perfectly honest. More people than the Pebble. With the Pebble, people are like, what is that? With this one, people are like, oh, what's that? Yeah, 0.01 cares about Microsoft hardware. Hashtag just get Asus to build it. It would be really nice if you review the Surface Pro 3. Already considered buying the Surface Pro 2. Okay. Ant says, review a base Surface 3. That's an interesting angle. Where we go, okay, here is the starting point. Because I think most everyone else is going to be looking at high-end or mid-range configurations. Whereas if we go, okay, no, we're going to do like a really good review of
So this is the Surface 3. By the way, you can also get these things.
By the way,
if you buy the higher end models.
Go look at other people's reviews if you want to know what like the Core i7 one performs like. That's interesting.
It's not a bad idea. It'll also save you some money.
Ashley, okay, you were doing pretty well in this tweet up till the bit about putting 10 gigabit Ethernet on the Surface 4. I don't think that's going to happen so good. Did we just lose a hockey game to the Finns? Is that the joke here? What's going on in the World Championships? I haven't actually looked at it in the last couple of days.
I don't think we did last night. Pretty sure we didn't lose last night. Oh, World Championships.
Yeah, World Championships hockey. I don't know. I haven't been paying that wanting team kind of as well. Coach Dave Tippett thought that they beat the Finns. Yeah, screw you guys. Okay, I have the Pro 2. It's awesome. Review the Pro 3 says Beebskadoo, who is my favorite, whatever you are.
The
Cool guy.
favorite dude.
The Surface is the one to review. Go for it. Okay, so it looks like people straight up really want me to check out the Surface 3. Okay, I'm gonna order one today. Okay, I'll order one, and if someone wants to buy it off of us on the garage sale, I can promise you there'll be a bit of a deal, but it might not be a lot cheaper than a Surface 3 that you buy new, but it'll be in great condition. I'll take really good care of it to the best of my ability here, guys. Zach Janis says, why not just get a convertible notebook? You know what? It's a great question. And I was using a Dell XPS 12 for a long time, which is a convertible notebook. The reason I would say that a Surface 3 might make sense is that a convertible notebook is not a tablet, whereas a Surface 3 is a tablet, but it also has so much more capability than a tablet because of the kickstand, because of the stylus, because of the ability to add these keyboard accessories that are well implemented and not kludgy.
I also find that this tablet's going to be a lot thinner and smaller.
It's
overall.
much thinner. much lighter. So there are real reasons why Surface makes sense beyond, instead of a convertible notebook. Apparently the i5 model comes out 2 months sooner than the others, so I guess we might end up just hitting that one, I guess. Philippe says, yeah, I'll definitely take it after you review it. All right, fair enough. Oh, we've got people asking about the Modus sweepstakes, or geek stakes, excuse me. I think the draw is in 8 minutes, unless it was at 9. Shoot, I'm
30, I think.
I'm at a bit of a loss here. Okay, well, either way, guys, go back every weekday and make sure that you go check that out. And thanks again to Modus for sponsoring our show today. Have you seen the Meta glasses, space glasses for AR? No, I haven't. But we don't click links on Twitter on the WAN show anymore after some bad experiences. I don't think that's the best still grab of Luke ever.
No.
Okay, so that's about it. Setting aside the money Nintendo and Sony has, what would be the ups and downs of Nintendo straight up buying PlayStation?
I'd be down with Nintendo buying PlayStation. They won't at all.
Yeah,
for sure.
because I mean the thing is that
It's not in their model at all.
the thing that I think people need to get about Nintendo is that they're not having trouble right now because they can't build a powerful gaming console, or because they can't pursue the whole third-party AAA. Well, okay, they are having trouble pursuing third-party AAA gaming titles, but it's because of the different approach that they believe in pursuing with, multiple screens and different controller schemas and all that kind of stuff. It's not like Nintendo doesn't know how to build a brick with controllers plugged into it. So they wouldn't buy PlayStation for the sake of the innovation of PS4 being a brick with controllers wirelessly connected to it.
Woo!
Versus being plugged into
they
it.
have wireless controllers, all Wiimotes.
So I just think, straight up, Nintendo just wouldn't even be interested, even if they could afford it.
Nope, I don't think so either. At all. And I'm okay with that. I think Wii U and I think 2DS, 3DS deserves a lot more attention and a lot more respect than it gets. Because honestly, 2DS, 3DS is really fun. They're integrated super well. That's another thing people don't understand is everyone will complain for days when Battlefield doesn't work off the bat and Titanfall is not very well optimized for PC off the bat, and there's all these problems all over the place. But then when every single Nintendo game ever works completely flawlessly out of the box, as far as I can think of off the top of my head, no one seems to really care. I have a Wii U and I have a 2DS. They're both absolutely fantastic. Whenever anyone comes over, we often end up playing Wii U because PC games are great, but they're great when your buddy's still at his house or you're LANing, and that's actually kind of difficult to kind of do all the time. So yeah, I don't know. I think they deserve a lot more attention than they get.
I mean, speaking of their games all working flawlessly, the GameSpy servers shutting down was a bit of a problem recently for DS owners who still want to play Mario Kart, Wii owners who still want to play their games.
That
but
was brutal.
There's some good news out of all of this as well. This was originally posted by Bonsai99 on the forum, and here's a post from Bungie.net. Halo PC, Combat Evolved, and Custom Edition. There's a new patch.
So the GameSpy servers went down, so you weren't going to be able to even look for online servers because the server list server is gone. So some dude in the community coded a new server list. Bungie put up some of their own servers to host this stuff, and things are rolling again. One of the big things in the new patch was they did a whole bunch of small bug fixes. So essentially the game should have died this month, and Bungie was just like, nope, here's patches fixing things, here's patches bringing the servers back, you guys are good to go. And that's awesome. That's super cool. So much more respect for Bungie now.
So, it's fixing things like upper boundary on video resolution, fixing things like... They fixed active camo on NVIDIA cards. They're even fixing, graphical stuff. Never mind crashes or, oh, man. That's
really cool.
Just so cool.
There was a bunch of different members of the community that brought up some of these bugs and different ways that they could fix it and whatnot. And then that guy in the community coded this list. And I know people are going to come back and be like, oh, well, they kept it up because strong community focus and the community kind of fixed everything for them. Doesn't matter. This happens all the time.
Yeah.
There's super dedicated people in so many different communities. It's insane.
That ask really nicely
Really nicely
to even be
offer their
allowed
code.
to fix it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this happens all the time. It took Bungie to actually accept this help and actually do it and then thank those people, which I think is really cool.
I think this is just like the coolest, most like feeling happy like gaming news that like I want to go buy a copy.
I want to go back and play Halo.
I just want to
Yeah.
go buy a copy and like play the heck out of it. Go play through the single player. We should, yeah, like I've wanted to do this a long time. Okay, you know what, guys? You gotta let us know. You gotta let us know if we did a very small LAN event in Vancouver. Would you guys be down to help us cover the costs? It would be a very small LAN event, and it wouldn't be like at my house or anything. So we would have to actually get a venue. So it might not be that cheap.
No.
But would you guys be down to come and hang with us? I have to say, I haven't played much in the way of video games in the last little while, and I firmly believe that a LAN is only fun as long as everyone is on the same page and playing the same game. So we would publish a games list, and we would expect people to come and play those games and have fun and eat some snacks. But would you guys be down to come to something like that, even if it was like full-on Nazi mode? Anyone opens WoW at this LAN, we will literally have him pick you up, pick up your computer, and throw both of you out the door.
We'll bring my brother too. Just
Yeah,
in
we'll bring your
case.
brother too, just in case we need some more like thug muscle. But there you go, guys. Would you be down to come? Let us know on Twitter. I'm not going to blitz it right now, but I will definitely check it out later. And I'd love to see the results of that straw poll that we created before. So
Okay.
here, no, I'm just gonna. We'll switch over to you here. So in
Straw
theory,
Poll
this
was
will work
having
now.
an issue on Firefox, but I've got it up in Chrome.
Way to be, straw poll. Okay,
So here we go. I did allow multiple
Seriously?
votes. I did allow multiple votes.
That's how it's gonna be.
So I made it so that people could vote for multiple things, and a lot of people still just decided to vote for one thing, and that was the Linus rap battle. I got after you for posting like banana and all this other crap in all of our polls, so I was like, you know what, whatever, I can do it too. So Linus rap battle wins with 70% of the votes. And then the rest of it got almost no votes.
This isn't even like statistically significant.
Not even close. So both the other options got under 20%.
I hate you.
Infinitec VR coming in at 17% and AR not even getting 15%, coming in at 13%. Personally, I vote for AR running around. But Infinitec VR would be awesome as well. And I think the nice, smooth experience would probably come first to Infinitec VR style gaming.
Right.
Because being able to actively render things in AI really, really well and on the fly and stuff, I think is not really going to happen for a little while. Now it's at 69%. That's perfect.
All right. Well, on that completely mature and sophisticated note, thank you guys very much for tuning into the WAN show. We'll see you guys again next week, and I don't think I'm gonna do a garage sale today, but I'll come back and stream for a couple minutes. But then I gotta go get the baby. So good stuff.
All right.
Seriously,
You gotta pull the thing out.
way to go.
Well, if I...
Oh, we just had Talk46 message us and let us know that the Mario Kart Wii community also managed to create a custom server. Something, well, it's a tweet, so I don't know that the grammar is necessarily correct, but there you go. So,
That's pretty cool.
yeah.